Hey guys, it's Mitch. How's it going? So today No, we were out. No! We did the Blood Brothers series. That was already above and beyond. Why would anybody read another issue of Brigade ever? Well, we might have read the Blood Brothers series, but you know what we didn't read was Extreme Prejudice. And maybe nobody else did either. I'm not for sure. But if we don't read the intervening Brigade issues, we won't know how we get to that point. And I mean, context is key. So, before we get into it, if you enjoy the channel, if you feel like you might want to help out a little bit, what you can do is in the description, there's a link to my Patreon, and if you just subscribe there, that'll give you access to everything I do, from the Blood Force stuff, the pages and finished comics, to the YouTube stuff before it goes out to YouTube, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. I do have to wonder just how much of the Brigade series is Rob floating his ambition. Like just, pumping money into all these spin-off books, not really warranting the kind of print runs that they're getting, but, just continuing to put them out there. That said, this is still the tail end of 1993. Print runs in the multiple hundreds of thousands is still quite a regular thing. So what happened in Brigade leading up to this? There's been so much. Well, in the miniseries, they went out to space and they fought genocide, and Atlas died there, and then they went home. And then in the Blood Brothers crossover, they fought Bloodstrike, because there was a link between Battlestone and Cabot, which is that they're brothers, and they're also both members of the Project Born Again thing, where they're resurrected corpses. And then Stasis died at the beginning of that one. And it just kind of ended in a standoff with the many clashes between these two iconic teams still looming in the future. And at the end of that book, we introduced Roman, who is only coincidentally Namor backwards. So let's check out this cover, which, it's a Merritt Michaels cover. And, I don't know, what do we think of this? It's better than his #1 cover. It's a classic ripping off Rob kind of thing, where it's a dude standing or walking amongst floating heads. The heads look reasonably decent, though. Roman looks okay. He's rather swollen, and he has a tiny head, but it's somewhat solid. I do look at this, though, and see him doing his little turn on the catwalk. All right, let's get into this mess. So, this is not going to be drawn by Merritt Michaels. This is laid out by Merritt Michaels, because his talent is so expansive that we can't just devote him to one book. That would be a waste. I don't know what the fuck else he'd be doing around this time. But, this is going to be penciled by Richard Horry of the Infinity storyline that ran for a little while. And he's kind of forgotten a few things since then, I think. This is also story by Merritt Michaels, so he's doing Marvel Method, where he's just coming up with shit. Colors by Paul Mounts, that'll be interesting. Story by Ripley. Probably not Ellen. I don't know who Ripley is meant to be. And technical assistant, Tim Townsend, so we'll get some mildly interesting tech at some point, I'm sure. So we're going to start out on an island somewhere, which it turns out is where Brigade has their headquarters located at. And we'll just take a look at the exposition here. So, deep within the azure world of the Caribbean Sea, literally miles from anything, there is an island not found on any map. To the casual eye, it would appear nothing more than a solitary stub of land, lost amidst the vast expanse of the ever-changing ocean. But to those who know better, it is the carefully chosen home of a team of renegade heroes the world has come to know as Brigade. It's been 6 weeks since the members of Brigade won a Pyrrhic victory over the government-sanctioned strike force known as Bloodstrike. And in that time, much has changed. Reading this, I could see how Liefeld would read that and go, holy shit, that's the best writing I've ever heard. Because the comparables are Eric Stevenson and Hank Canals. It's laying it on a little bit thick. But that's okay, I suppose. So we're going to home in on KO here. KO has kind of turned from nobody into like a Ronin, like a samurai kind of thing. I don't have too many complaints about this page here. This is a decent shot. The colors kind of seem to lose track of what they were doing on the highlights, but, that's okay. This is a problem that Richard Horry will have, where he squares off the faces way too much. It's a little Cuberty, Andy Cuberty specifically, I think. But yeah, overall, decent enough first page. So there's an awful lot of talking. What's going on here? KO has decided to leave Brigade. He's got things he's got to take care of in his past. And that's about it. Battlestone tries to persuade him out of it, and tries to present himself as a sympathetic ear, which tells me that Ripley has never read a Brigade comic before. So for instance here, he's like, Hero, if you need my help, all you have to do is ask. Battlestone would never say that. Battlestone would be like, if you don't feel like we're providing enough, then you get the hell out of here. And these are fine enough layouts for these kinds of pages. I think the problem is more that KO isn't a fucking character. KO's a guy who jumps around in the background while Battlestone points and goes, say a prayers, and then, gets the shit beat out of him. And I think this is even the first indication we've ever had that KO is Japanese. Like, you could have said he was Spanish, and I would have been like, all right, sure. And now we're seeing him, and he's got like a robe on, and he's talking about doing the honorable thing. And it's like, oh, so, okay, KO cares about that kind of shit. Okay, good to know. And the powers of Richard Horry and Merritt Michaels combined to bring us this image here, which is pretty fucking lame. Alright, so now we're going to cut to Lethal and Boone, who are training. Of course they're training. They're always training. Lethal and Boone were kind of brought in as members during the Blood Brothers crossover. And they were previously Brigade members in Brigade number 0. Well, I don't know if that was Brigade at the time, but I haven't read Brigade number 0 since 1993, and I don't plan to anytime soon. Unless there is an overwhelming demand for a Brigade number 0 revisit. That's the only way I'll ever do one. So Lethal is kicking Boone's ass because he keeps making quips instead of fighting. And Battlestone comes in to tell them that KO has now left, which Boone is a little confused about because they just got this new version of the team together. And, I'm there with you, I guess. Brigade can't seem to settle on a lineup since it restarted. I wonder if that was some kind of idea of Rob's where they just kept floating characters in and out of the team. I don't know. Not a bad layout for a double-page splash. I'll give Merritt that. Like, this big image here, this is fine if it were executed correctly. It wasn't by Richard Horry, but that doesn't mean that Merritt would have done any better with it. Come to think of it, why the fuck is Tim Townsend the technical assistant on this? Richard Horry is a technical assistant guy. He does tech stuff. All this stuff in the background here, which I suppose must be Tim Townsend, why Richard Horry can do that just as well. I can't imagine he's spending so much time rendering these figures that we need to, get another guy in on this. So upon this momentous revelation, Lethal reveals that she is also leaving the team. She doesn't really give any kind of particular reason. We do kind of get one later on, actually, which is weird. I don't think anybody was expecting, reasons for anything in this book. Although, again, I don't think anybody read this thing. So, it doesn't really matter one way or the other, does it? I'm not sure what exactly is going down here, where her legs are shining, shimmering, maybe? Although, she does use a teleporty thing every once in a while. That could be what's happening there. There's no real description. And we actually get something like a funny line here, where Boone's like, I don't suppose this would be a good time for me to tell you. And Battlestone's like, don't start with me. So well done on that. I was a little surprised at the quality line. And we get an awfully drawn hand here. So now we're going to cut to Thermal and Cold Snap. And Cold Snap is pissed because he can't drink anything because he keeps freezing everything before it gets to his face. And Thermal's like, I'll melt it again, I guess. Which is superficially clever, which is the kind of clever you can kind of expect from image books around this time. And Battlestone just kind of slinks into the room and goes, better be careful. Cold Snap's been through enough changes lately without you melting him into a puddle. And then they turn around and he's left again. So this is just what he does now, where he wanders around while people are talking to each other and says things that are barely connected and then leaves before they can see him again. It's mysterious. And, you know, like, you can see the limitations Richard Horry has here. Merritt Michaels actually drew a better Monster Cold Snap than Richard Horry, which is the first and probably last time I will ever start a sentence with Merritt Michaels drew something better than. Yeah, one of the things about these books, nobody likes to use blacks for their shadows. I wonder if this is a Todd influence, actually, because he likes to do that thing where he doesn't do a full silhouette. It's more, he draws the outline and then the colorist fills in the color. That's the silhouette. It's probably not that. I mean, that's not exactly a new technique. But, I mean, just the lack of black in these kind of bugs me. There's a lot of things in these books that bug me, though. All right, so now Seahawk is training with Paul. It was Paul. That's right. I mean, they say it's Martin. They're incorrect. It was Paul. And Seahawk is dodging all the bullet things because he's getting too good. What Paul doesn't know is that he's got his headband of agility on, which gives him plus 16 dexterity. And one of those panels you just kind of wish wasn't that big, because that looks fucking awful. Everything on here is bad. It's like he held it together okay for the first, like, 5 pages, and now it's completely falling apart. I have to assume this is a Tim Townsend gun. That looks like a pretty good gun, actually. It looks like it exists in real space. The shading all looks right. Looks kind of cool. Maybe that's the kind of thing he was brought in for instead of Richard Horry. I mean, Richard Horry might have done those extra panels. All that kind of stuff in the back. I'm not for sure. This doesn't look like a Richard Horry gun, though. So while they're doing their normal pissing contest kind of stuff, this is Seahawk, by the way. This one. Remember the guy in the first issue who had the mushroom cut and the rat tail? That's him there. Doesn't look anything like him. And Roman leaps in decent enough leaping from behind shot. Even the arms don't look too bad. He doesn't look like the kind of swollen he did on the cover. So that's fine. I mean, this panel here sucks, but it's fine. And then we get a vertical double page splash, which is better than what Richard Horry's been giving us so far, because this is Merritt. Merritt wanted to do this one himself. So this is like the full extent of his capabilities at this time. It's better than his previous vertical double page splashes. He managed to proportion them okay. The musculature looks all right. The face looks rubbery as fuck, as per usual. And he does look pretty swollen here, actually, and still can't draw a hand. And Rob Liefeld goes, Merritt Michaels, you truly are the king of kings. Oh, nothing happens on this splash, by the way. He just stands here and grins at them. And Seahawk leaps into battle and is immediately swatted aside. That's so bad. How do you take in that page and go, yeah, Richard Horry, that's good. I want more pages like that. Like, if this was Marvel, they'd get 2 pages into this, and his editor would look at it and go, fuck, this kid can't hack it. Where's Paul Ryan? Or Rick Leonardi. Rick Leonardi's always the fill-in guy. Rick Leonardi should have had his own book. Can you imagine if Brigade was drawn by Rick Leonardi? You could have given Rick Leonardi the money to do this book. Think how good that would have looked. Oh, wait, actually, you know what? He's probably drawing Spider-Man 2099 around now. Which was his one book. Okay, that's not exactly a mulligan. I mean, you can't always just outbid Marvel. If you're paying Richard Horry $300 a page for this shit, which I have no verification for, I'm just kind of assuming based off of the kind of thing I've heard Rob say about what he paid out, I think you can bump it up a little bit and probably get some Rick Leonardi money going. So, Seahawks swatted aside. Cold Snap comes in and big punches him and looks like absolute ass. And then gets punched back. This is why we need the Merritt Michaels layouts. How will we know what has happened without an expert showing us the way? And Roman starts going, wait a minute, I wasn't trying to start a fight, which is bullshit. He broke their window and jumped down smiling. All Battlestone had to do was yell, say your prayers, and he would have kicked their ass in a second. I do like how, Brigade is like the least useful super team of all time. There was a second there where I'm like, man, somebody should make that book. They made a movie already. It's called Mystery Men, which is another great thing about the 90s. Like Brigade number 4. So Thermal comes in and fires at him and then flies toward him. And he does fucking something. I don't know. I think this is like Street Fighter power-up shit. Like, is he about to Hadouken her? I don't know. But it worked. Seahawk comes in for another punch and somehow gets punched. These truly are thrilling layouts. I think there's another run-in here by Cold Snap, which potentially got parried or something. I don't fucking know. But at the end of it, Roman hasn't been hurt. And Brigade's standing there. And Roman's all, I'm going to explain myself now. And Battlestone's like, fine, but if I don't like what I hear, you're going to wish you never opened your mouth. Because you'll feel so guilty about the ass kicking you're going to give to us. Again, they needed somebody else to lay this out for Richard Horry. I'm pretty sure Richard Horry could handle this shit. The Infinity stuff wasn't bad. At least, like, it was better. It looked better than this. Anyway, that's it for the Brigade story. Bunch of people left. And then, not Namor kind of got into a fight by accident. That was 16 pages of Richard Horry over Merritt Michaels' art, and you should be thankful. So now we're going to go to a Lethal spotlight, which is not written by Ripley. This is written by Eric Stevenson. It's whatever. Merritt Michaels again does layouts, and somebody named Vince Russell does pencils. So we're going to start out, and Lethal's beating up robot things. I don't think there's much of an explanation for what exactly it is she's trying to kill. Fine enough, opening splash. Although it's a backup story. Do we need an opening splash? Big double, I guess, because this is going to be the whole fucking thing. It's just Lethal killing these robot things. So yeah, big kick for double page splash. Slashes a couple of them. Kick and or slash is a thing. These don't look too bad. It's all fucking senseless, but... runs down a hallway. And remember, Merritt Michaels laid this shit out, so he intended for her to look absolutely tiny. Kicks open the door here, where there's a guy. She throws a sword at him, and I think hits him in the hand, which is shocking. I guess he was supposed to have caught that. Yeah, it looks like he caught that. I don't know who this guy is. They don't ever say. That is a fucking awful shot, though. The only thing worse is thinking about how bad Merritt Michaels would have made that shot look. So this is a dude offering her a new job, an assassination job, I think. And it looks like her new target is KO. I think I read this a little wrong before, though. I thought that this would have taken place before the beginning of this issue. And maybe she had infiltrated Brigade and was working on assassinating KO when all of a sudden he left, so she had to leave too. Which would have been, something. I suppose. It's kind of a little bit of a mini story. But no, it looks like she just joined up to help out. And then KO left, and she's like, yeah, you know what, fuck this place. And then she got the job for KO. Which is far less interesting. She does just kind of look like a dude with boobs here. Odd. Anyway, that's it for the Lethal backup. That was 6 pages. So this is why Merritt Michaels had to do breakdowns instead of full pencils, because it was 23 pages. There's no way he's going to do that in a month. Are you kidding me? And we're going to get some battle cries. It's all just... There's a lot of questions in these. A lot of people asking if Stasis is really dead or if she's going to come back. They're like, no, she's dead. She sucked. People ask if Atlas is going to come back. No. Did you see those mutton chops? He sucked. And a lot of people going, when are you going to team up with this guy? Well, there's multiple people asking, are you going to team up with Youngblood? We did that in Brigade number 0. Are you going to team up with Spawn? Probably not. Cyberforce? No. Wildcats? I don't think so. So, I don't know. These letters, there's one here that's like, issue number 1 and number 2 of Brigade were the best issues yet. The art and storyline were awesome. And that's it. Which is like a bit of a lame letter. but you have to assume they would have theoretically gotten those letters fairly often. They just didn't print them because there's nothing to say to that. The fact that they printed it makes me think they're not getting very many letters. So, next issue. Having faced off with the man from below the sea, Brigade negotiates with the mysterious Roman. Coldsnap and Seahawk discover more intriguing facts about their perplexing origin, all in one mighty tale. There was a tale here. Only from the halls of extreme. They're trying really hard to come up with some kind of Marvel-esque method of speaking, like a cadence, and they haven't found it yet. And I mean, this book is getting canceled in 18 issues, so you better find something quick, boys. Yep, there's that montage thing, the mosaic, where it's largely just the same issues repeated. I love that. Yeah, Prophet and Eric Larson writes Savage Dragon number 5. I hope he does a better job than on number 4. All right, so that was Brigade number 4. That was such a nothing fucking issue. I mean, it's not surprising or anything. The entire Blood Brothers crossover was, we fight you, and then they fight for like 2 issues. There's a whole fight stretched over those 2 issues. And then they break for intermission. And then one of the teams comes back and goes, oh, fight some more! And that's like the whole thing for 6 issues. I guess I was kind of expecting some sort of attempt at a story, particularly given that, you know, they hired a new guy. It's basically just that his method of delivery is better than Eric Stevenson's, as far as I can tell. When you're getting Merritt Michaels to determine the path your story is going to take, it's going to fucking suck no matter what. Oh, hey, Battlestone got his braids back. This is the first time I've even noticed. I think he had them in the Blood Brothers thing as well. I might have noticed then. I might not. I don't know. Okay, so hopefully something interesting will happen in Brigade number 5. If not, I did take a quick look through it. Merritt Michaels is doing full pencils on that, so that'll be at least a bit more fun by itself. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when the next one's coming out. Go over and subscribe on my Patreon. That'll give you access to everything I do, from the Blood Force stuff, the pages, and the finished comics, as well as these YouTube videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, and some Patreon exclusive content. You can also follow me on Instagram and DM me there for commissions. It's important that we keep rereading Brigade, you know? It's such a nothing shit book, but this is kind of the reason Blood Force exists. I look at Brigade and I go, well, fuck, if this can get out there, nobody should ever feel inadequate in a world where Merritt Michaels can get work. But anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.